Hey everyone, it's Andre Luck here to share my video for this week where I'm going to wrap up the building a modern ticket sales team from scratch series that I did. So this is the 9th episode. So I'm going to tie it all together and take out some of the highlights and key takeaways from the different videos that I did. So we'll jump right in. Really the big focus of this was to look at how can sports teams build a modern ticket sales team, not using playbooks and processes from 2010, but now it's 2025, almost into 2026. Like, how have things evolved, how have things changed, and some of the top teams that I work with, they're doing a lot of these things, and there's still an opportunity for a number of organizations to improve and to modernize some of their processes. So where we kicked off, where I like to start with anything, is really looking to lay the ground foundation and laying that framework at the start. Because a lot of times you think about building a team, you're like, right, who do I get? What roles do I fill? Like, who are the spots? But if you don't have some of those key processes and objectives aligned at the executive level, none of this matters. It's great if like your managers, directors, they could meet and like get alignment, but you need buy-in from the top, your CEO, your president, ownership board, whoever that is. I'm like, here's the strategy, here's the plan, because they have the authority to actually like put resources into things and get people all rowing in the same direction and get people moving. Where if you're a middle manager or even an individual contributor, you have some influence, but you don't have the authority to actually get other departments to get on board and align behind like, here are the 2 or 3 top initiatives for the organization, and make sure everyone's goals flow underneath that. So from a ticket sales perspective, making sure those goals you have from revenue out of tickets and number of tickets sold, they all align to the bigger business objectives from profitability or whatever ownership or your executives want to see. So that's the first piece, and then aligning on the different data, the support system around that, how you're going to track that before you start getting into building out your strategy and the headcount and everything like that. And the other thing too is just understanding that everyone has the same best practices now. Even if like there's someone who comes up with like a new package or a new process, a way of doing things, that could be easily replicated very quickly. So it really comes down to your ability to execute on the day to day, and that's where we'll get into the people here in a second. But next thing I talked about was like the market that you're going after and building out your go-to-market strategy. So you have your goals aligned, you know what you're going after, you know how you're going to track that and measure it. Now you need to decide what's the best opportunity to go after, because the blessing and the curse of in sports, there's so many opportunities to go after. Pretty much any business that you see or drive by or any person that you meet, they could be a buyer, but who's the most profitable buyer for you? Who's got the lowest lift for you to get on board and attract at scale? A lot of times that's going to be sports fans, past ticket buyers. Like, definitely lean into that. Make sure you're maximizing that whole opportunity, which is funny because I talk so much about B2B sales, and that might not be the first place you start. Like, you may want to look at who are your B2C fans that currently buy, like who are people that may be buying individual tickets, but you could upsell into bigger packages. So really working as a team and identifying that, and then building out a strategy based on the segment. So your fans and your families have a different go-to-motion strategy versus go-to-motion sales process than your businesses or your organizations or your groups and things like that, nonprofits. So identifying who all those are, how are you going to go out and attract them, and then prioritizing which ones do we want to go after first because they have the greatest opportunity that match and align with our business goals. Because you can't go out to everyone with the same message. You probably have to have some common themes just from an efficiency standpoint on like the message you're going to put out to build the brand and like what you stand for as an organization. But then at a more granular level, when you're doing one-to-one campaigns like directly to a certain segment or a certain type of fan, or your sales teams out there doing outreach, then you want to make sure that's aligned. But making sure it's going after the ones that have the best opportunity first, and then slowly starting to work your way down. And if you want to go after a new segment, that's great. Maybe pilot that, maybe do that in a small sample size. And if you see there's opportunity to scale that, then that becomes one of your other key initiatives. So just slowly working down the prioritization list. Now we get into the team structure. And though it's not the first thing that I focus on, I think you got to lay that groundwork first. I think this is the most important part, because this is where, like I said, the playbooks are the same, the processes are the same, the systems are the same. Like, where you win is on your people and how you're able to execute on your processes. So if you're able to retain people, like a second, third year rep, instead of turning over a new rep every single year, you're going to see significant gains across a team of 20, 30 plus individuals. If you're able to set up a process where you're getting more 6-figure deals on throughout the year across your sales team versus $600 deals, like that starts to add up over time, over consistency. So you really want to make sure that you get this part right. you're getting the right type of roles that fit your market, that fit your go-to-market strategy that we just talked about before, and then start to fill in the org chart based on that and accordingly. So getting your leaders in place, making sure they're all aligned, they have the same vision, goal, values, everything like that, and then building out the teams underneath them to get the people that attract that. One thing that got a lot of conversation in these episodes that I did was around inside sales and like, what do you do with that? Because for me, that's how I got my career started. That's how a lot of people get their career started. You cut your teeth on pretty bad leads, just to like get some repetition and into sales and really learning how to be a salesperson and a professional. And I think that's a big piece of this role too. But as sports teams start to get more lean, as you have technology that could supplement some of the work that we were doing 15, 20 years ago as an inside sales rep, you want these people to be more well-rounded, and they have the time and bandwidth to take on more across marketing, across analytics, across operations, some more revenue generalists who are now starting to feed the entire revenue team, not just the ticket sales team. That would be my recommendation. And you need that pipeline of new individuals bringing fresh ideas, fresh energy into the organization. And those are people that are going to grow with you. So if you look at like a baseball organization, they have a minor league system, and it's more efficient for them if they can develop people internally through their minor league system and grow them to be professionals, because they understand, they talk the talk, they walk the walk, they understand the values and culture within the organization. And you're not having to go buy free agents and attract free agents to come join your team. The same happens in sales. If you're trying to get someone to leave their current situation, you're probably going to have to overpay to do that. And most of the top performers at one team aren't going to leave, for a lateral role unless there's like a step up in pay. So it starts to get costly to try and attract external talent. So if you can develop that internally, but with the right structure that's going to help them long-term, your organization long-term, as things start to evolve and not be what they were 10, 15 years ago, that's where you can really make impact with that team. On the customer service side, or on the service side, it's less about that, but more customer success. So less customer service, reactive, waiting for people to come to you, but really being proactive. And that's where there's so much money within your account base. Like 90+% of your revenue sits in like your current accounts. But we spend so much time focused on new business because that's a harder role. But from an efficiency standpoint, if you can just renew at a higher rate, or grow those accounts, like, you almost don't have to, in some situations, get as much new business or even any new business to continue to grow your business. So putting sellers over there, putting people that have that mindset where they want to help people and they can be consultative, and putting people in roles like that where they can grow your accounts, expand your accounts, get referrals, everything like that, versus just really nice customer service people. You can almost carve out like a customer service type role if you really need that, or a hospitality type role that's maybe not really revenue focused, but really providing a great customer experience or member experience. Like a couple weeks ago, my wife and I, we went to a wine club up in Michigan, and one thing that sparked an idea for me was having somebody who like curates these events and these experiences for your members. And maybe they aren't as revenue focused as like a sales leader or someone who manages the accounts, but like they're really focused on getting to know the customers, because that's what really differentiates within sports. You can't control team performance. You can't control if the team's going to win or lose the product on the field, but you can control the experience that you create. And those that have created that experience in their games with their members typically see more success than those that don't. So that could be a new specialized role that I didn't talk about in the episodes, of someone who's just really focused on the events, the experience, getting to know them, and building that stickiness with the customer, so that whether the team performs or not, they just feel they're getting value and like they got that connection to the team and to this person or to this group of people. So I think that's a great role to have. Your AEs, your account executives, your salespeople, I think they should be full menu. There could be maybe a little bit of specialization, but I think we get a little too overly specialized where people are like, well, I only sell group tickets and I can't sell season tickets, or vice versa. Like they should know how to talk, one, for the customer experience. So if you're talking to someone about season tickets, you don't have to pass it over to someone for groups or suites, but also just from an efficiency standpoint of your business, and having salespeople that are well-versed, well-rounded across all areas. So that comes to a lot of training, which I'll close with, but making sure that they're developed, they're trained, they're coached on how to talk about all different types of products and processes and systems and everything like that. The last thing, as it relates to, well, two more things, as it relates to people and the team and the culture, I think for growth and development opportunities, you need to have opportunities for your individual contributors. So those that are like, I just want to sell and make a bunch of money, like there's a path for them to grow, get titles, get higher pay, everything like that. And then there's a path of people like me that were like really bought into development, coaching, wanting to be in leadership, wanting to be the next inside sales manager, director, everything like that. So there's a path which a lot of teams have of like a manager in training program or some sort of development path for people to get into leadership and management. But on this side of the individual contributor, there's not as much. So making sure that you're engaging people based on what their preferences are, what their aspirations are, and you have paths for them to grow and still feel like they're contributing and advancing throughout their career. The other thing is, as best you can, trying to make it competitive from a compensation standpoint. I understand that in other industries, you could probably pay more, and they probably have to pay more to get some of those people where a lot of people are excited to work in sports, but that attractiveness of like just getting to work for a sports team is definitely dwindling, going down. Like I've seen so many people are like, I'd love to get into it, but like I'll take this job that I don't really like and get paid double the amount and work half the hours. So finding that balance in there, but making sure that the compensation is competitive, making sure incentives are tied to business goals so that, yes, maybe you're paying someone well, but it's actually contributing to what's going to help the business achieve their objectives and their goals that we started this conversation with. And making sure at the end of the day, like they aren't as impacted based on team performance. So I actually got text from a few people and messages from people about that because they agreed. If you have a little bit higher base salary and less variable comp as it relates to their commission, that's a good way to do it. Most people would prefer that in a sales role. And then you could set, these bars where if they really outperform what's expected, then you can really have some kickers and spiffs that go into and bonuses that get their variable compensation a lot higher. But it's not as impacted by team performance because the team plays really well. Sometimes your finance team or your leadership's a little upset because maybe you overpaid the staff, which I think most people will take that. But on the flip side, where you can really lose a culture, and I've seen this happen, the team doesn't perform as well as you expected them to, and their compensation is tied to getting to their numbers. But again, team performance does impact your ability to sell. I don't care what anyone says. So at the end of the day, the team didn't play as they expected. We set goals that they were going to perform at a certain level. Now their compensation is impacted, and you start to see people get frustrated, resentful, and they start looking for other opportunities. So there's no perfect solution. I think you really got to do a deep dive exercise. What are you comfortable with as an organization, as a leadership team? But the best you can, not tying it to team performance, but more business outcome metrics that are within their control, and building their compensation plan around that. The last piece I talked on was around really enablement, but how do you leverage technology, AI, people that are enabling the sales team, like really freeing them up to be more effective and be more efficient. And so at the end of the day, you got to make sure you have a good process that you're doing manually or have those fundamentals so that you can use this to amplify, because technology is going to speed up whatever process you have, whether it's good or bad, it's going to speed it up. So if you have good processes, then technology and AI and some of these things are going to help with that. But on the flip side, if you have bad processes, that's going to make you do that a lot more quickly. So we touched on that. And I think with technology now, it's evolving so quickly. Like there are products that I looked at, oh, this could be great from an AI standpoint, or, whether it's my business or like sports teams be able to leverage this. And I see it replicated like a week later with another product that has better advancements. So I would just be very careful about what type of long-term investments and commitments you make to technology. Obviously your CRM system, your ticketing system, like those are things like you're probably going to want to lock in, because the change management and the time it takes to change those out and the processes may not be worth, this thing that has a little bit better features or more efficiency, whatever it may be. But some of these like newer tech tools, like really doing a pilot first or not committing to long-term commitments and just doing it with a small segment of your team or a certain use case to see if there's actual return on it and it gets used. That's where a lot of teams miss is, this team has it, that team has it, we need to get it too. And you force it on your team, but they don't know how to use it, so they don't maximize it too. They don't see the benefit of it and they don't use it. So now you have this investment that you made that isn't providing the return that you want, and that's just a waste of money for everyone and makes you look bad as a department. So looking at the different tools, database platforms, chatbots, AI, things that can help expedite and just free the team up from doing admin busy work, but really focus their time spending it with customers, spending it with clients, spending it with prospects, and doing the sales activities that are really going to help, and dedicating people into those roles. And maybe you do take one or two salespeople out and reallocate those resources to a human person, a headcount that's going to oversee this and manage this and own this, so that they can take ownership of it, instead of right now a lot of times it's placed on maybe like your team leads from a sales perspective. That's taking them away from selling. Or it's your leaders, your managers, directors who need to be spending time coaching or even being involved in the sales process with their team, but they're having to build flyers and spreadsheets and reports and everything like that, we could have people that are enabling the sales team to help with that. You could justify the ROI pretty quickly if you go through and do the analysis and the exercise. So really my key takeaways from this whole series was people, like that's a big thing, but making sure that they're set up in the right ecosystem and environment and you have the right culture so that they can succeed. Your leadership's going to be a big part of that, making sure you have alignment at the top to make sure that resources get deployed and allocated the way they should be. And then again, the tech piece that's a big one, making sure that that you have sound processes already set up so that you can leverage the good things that come from technology and not speed up the bad things. And then last, like the piece on the people side, perks, benefits, those are great, but those are short term. What really holds a team together is the culture. Creating those relationships, having that safety where they could show up themselves and they know that they are okay to make mistakes, and there's room for them to grow, and that their leadership's invested in them. Like if you bring all those together along with the more tactical skills and processes and everything like that, that's where you have a recipe for success. So it was really fun going through this. A lot of good feedback through the 8-9 different episodes I went through. If you like this, definitely click like, subscribe, hit the subscribe button if you like it, share this with somebody if you think this is valuable for them. And as always, I'll be back next week with another video. So appreciate you tuning in.